when people can come downtown and park once and walk around and have a great meal, attend an event, whether it's one of our big festivals or maybe it's an open mic night or listening to live music at one of the breweries. You can come here and kind of do it all. So that's our goal.
Hi, I'm Carl Weisecker, Principal Broker at Kline Realty. Thanks for joining me for another Kline Realty podcast. My guest today is Andrea Dono from Harrisonburg Downtown Renaissance. Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about all things downtown, but let's get started with, you're not a Harrisonburg native.
Correct.
What drew you here to Harrisonburg and our downtown?
Yeah, I was actually born and raised in New York City, and my folks moved us to Virginia when we were in high school, and I stayed. I love it. And I was working in historic preservation, economic development, and I knew my predecessor at HDR. Mm-hmm. And he kept on saying, hey, I've got a job if you want to apply. And finally, one day he called and he said, you've turned me down every other time, but I will be retiring. So if you're interested in my position, we'd love to have you apply. And that I was interested in. Fantastic. And so I applied and I got the job. And so that brought me here. Okay. I was looking for a sense of community, and boy, I found it in spades.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. That's great. So I think a lot of folks probably have heard of Harrisonburg Downtown Renaissance, but may not have an idea in their head of what you all do. Give us a little kind of big picture of what your mission is. Yeah,
we do a little bit of everything. So it does make it a little bit hard for people to really pin down what it is that we do. A lot of people identify with the events that we do. So we do events, we do destination marketing for the downtown district. Everything that we do is related just to the downtown. And so we support the small businesses, we work in historic preservation, and we just try to make sure that downtown is as vibrant as it possibly can be, because we want people to have strong businesses here. We want them to be successful and supported, and we want to have something special in our downtown, and those small businesses really make it. But we also want to make memories for the people who come here. So when people can come downtown and park once and walk around and have a great meal, attend an event, whether it's one of our big festivals or maybe it's an open mic night or listening to live music at one of the breweries, you can come here and kind of do it all. So that's our goal. And we actually use a very specific methodology that was founded at the National Trust for Historic Preservation, where I actually used to work. And they had a bunch of people calling them about 40 years ago saying, help, our downtown is dying. And they were like, we don't know what to do, because we know what to do with landmarks and a historic house, but how do you save 40 blocks of historic buildings? And what we figured out is that we find new economic uses for them. There's no single bullet, and we do a little bit of everything. So that's why it's economic development, it's historic preservation, it's the small business support, it's the events, it's the marketing, it's everything.
Fantastic. Yeah, and there's a great variety downtown of everything, we're so all lucky. Different types of business. Now, you said a magic word in there, park.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the downtown parking situation?
I've
it's adequate? Do you think it's...
I've never not found a parking space. You might not park exactly where you would prefer to park, but there is a parking space for you somewhere downtown. And to make it easy for folks, we have a parking map. So it's on our website, and then we also created one that shows where our accessible parking spaces are, because we want to make sure people who might need, a space with the accessible van striping or a spot closer to their destination can find it. So we try and make it as easy as possible, and if you just give yourself an extra 2 minutes, I promise you're going to find a place to park. And it'll probably be free, so you can't beat that.
Yeah, I saw an interesting graphic a long, long time ago that overlaid downtown and the perimeter of the Valley Mall parking lot, and making the point that folks don't mind walking from there to there.
They sure don't.
But if it's in a downtown setting, all of a sudden it seems like a longer walk.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mental block, and it's very psychological, but we promise people they'll find parking here. And it's funny, like Christmas time or when those major shopping mall times, you're gonna park in the back maybe, especially in the major metropolitan areas, and you might walk a couple of acres, or like a few miles. And you can do that here and just be surrounded by historic buildings and trees and fresh air, and see the mountains. I mean, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. And downtown looks great, I think. It really does. Talk a little bit about how you strike that balance between historic preservation while still allowing folks to find new uses and renovate the buildings and things that we have.
So historic preservation is very flexible. And if you're using historic tax credits, you do have to follow something called the Secretary of Interior Standards. And that just outlines very clearly what is eligible and what would be supported with historic tax credits and how you can protect that building into the future, but also modernize it. So they do allow for ADA accessibility and modern mechanical systems and things like that. If you have original hardwood floors, they're probably not going to let you tear them up. And why would you? Because they're probably beautiful and we just don't make them the way that they did before. So it is flexible, it is possible, and sometimes you have to give a little, but you get a lot back in return. And when you go that extra mile to protect your historic building or even build something new in the downtown that fits in with the surrounding environment, you're giving a gift to the community. You know, you're protecting their heritage, you're protecting that pedestrian feel, you're building something new that looks like it fits in and everyone benefits. So yeah, it's a win-win. It just takes a little bit of extra time and effort, and then you get a really cool space. I mean, look at these awesome exposed brick walls, you know, it's really cool. It feels cool being here, which is probably why you chose this organization to work with. And you know, it's a great vibe. It's special, and you don't see that out in a strip mall.
Right, for sure. For sure. What kind of things are you working on now for the summer, or what kind of things should we be looking forward to downtown?
We're working on a little bit of everything. By the nature of our work, we have a lot of irons in the fire, and we even started talking about how we're going to celebrate our 25th anniversary, which will be coming up in a couple of years. So we want to get ahead of that, and we're talking about what we might want to do in the next year as well. So we're executing projects for this year, but we're also looking ahead. So it really is very varied. There's no one single day that's always the same around our office, which I think our team loves that. It's never the same thing. It's never boring. But right now we're working with HEC to hang some new banners around downtown on the light poles. If you notice, there haven't been any up for probably 10 years at this point, or 9. We worked with local artists to design a few that correspond to our branding elements. And the first one is welcome in several different languages, which is very Harrisonburg. And then we also worked with public school teachers. Their art students designed a duck-themed banner. So we have some student art that's going up, and because this project has been going on for forever, some of those students have already graduated, but I know we're all going to love to see them. So they're being hung right now. That was a long-term project and a cool partnership with HEC.
And where does the duck theme come from?
There's ducks everywhere downtown, and we love them. So, you know, they stop traffic all the time, and, you know, everyone just really wants to make sure that as they're swimming on Black's Run that they're safely crossing the streets, and so there is an affinity for them. So we thought that would be a great first theme. And it's carried out into other things as well. You know, we worked with Explore More. We gave them a grant to do little bronze ducklings around downtown. So we're celebrating that theme in a couple of different ways, and we do things like that. We do public improvement projects and beautification. So along those lines, we're working with a few other private property owners to design public spaces on their private property to make that open to the public. So the Harrisonburg Innovation Hub, which is just really close to here on Liberty Street, they're going to be creating an outdoor space that we actually work with JMU architecture students to design, which was a really cool hands-on real-world experience. So we'll be breaking ground this year on that project. We got a grant, and we're using raffle proceeds that we do for fundraising to fund it. And we also have something similar with another grant and raffle proceeds funding a sensory-friendly playground right down the street again on Liberty Street. And that'll be really cool because it's going to be a partnership with the Speech and Language Center, which is moving in pretty soon. They're relocating into downtown, and they're renovating the building right now. And so they told me when we met that they had a wish list, and that would be really cool. And I said, hold that thought. Let me see if we can do that. So we're working on that as well, in addition to planning logistics for all of our events, booking our bands for our summer concert series. We also have an expanded VA 250 Independence Weekend concert that we'll be doing ahead of 4th of July. So we'll have bigger and better fireworks. We'll have activities, food trucks, all that great celebratory stuff, red, white, and blue everywhere you look. So that'll be a lot of fun, and historical markers. We're finally bringing those into downtown. So we're working with a bunch of historians to tell the stories that not everybody knows and put it in the public space, and the city will help us install those throughout downtown. So
how many of those are there going to be?
We're going to have 25, and then we can expand that content on a digital version. So if you can't leave your home, or if you want more information or see more photos, you can just pull it up online.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What about long term? What's on your wish list long term?
So luckily we have a downtown master plan that we did in partnership with the city. So we have our roadmap, and we're not the only ones using it. Developers are looking at it, and the city uses it. Other folks are using it. So we're just working the plan. So telling the history of the community, it was on it. So we're working on that now, checking that off, creating more green space. So that's why we're doing these outdoor parks. We're also supporting Build Our Park, that is trying to build a park behind City Hall. So yeah, we're just really just working the plan. And the one thing that we really would like to look into for upcoming years is to build a play trail throughout downtown. And that was one of the recommendations in the plan. And so you can have little pops of fun and little pops of joy throughout downtown and let people just meander and discover and just be delighted by the things that they find.
Never heard of that. Is that a thing in other towns?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be a thing here.
Right.
So,
what's the timeline on that?
well, we're going to have a meeting thanks to cooperation from the Frame Factory located downtown. She's very connected with artists, and I had something framed there recently, and we just got to talking, as you do around here. And I said, one of the things I would really love to do is have artists come together and help us plan what this play trail could look like. And even if it's something like, those funhouse mirrors where
Right.
you're like tall and skinny
Right.
or squat, you can make that artistic and make it cool. And then someone else had a really cool idea of like, what if we had a mini museum and had little works of art inside, kind of like those free public libraries, the free libraries. So we're like, yeah, that would be great. And these are all things that we can do locally. We don't have to buy it from some company in another state, and keep that money locally, which is definitely part of our mission. And just delight and surprise people, and hopefully people will hear about it and want to come check it out. So yeah, it's all part of it.
That sounds great.
It'll be
that
fun.
Sounds great. And I can feel your energy and enthusiasm. All
It's
these
going
good
to be
ideas.
so cool. Yeah. And, it takes a lot of logistical work and, trying to figure out liability issues anytime you do an installation. Right. So there was a lot of non-fun parts of that kind of work, but the end goal is just going to be really cool. And it's something that will be accessible to anyone and free. And so there's no barriers to enjoying it, and there's no barrier to come to downtown. So it's just another reason. So yeah, we're excited.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
What a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.